Um,
Sorry, I'm
oh,
going to record.
yep, all good. But I might have some things that I can hopefully share just
Okay.
having gone through that because that was a pretty intense meeting with a lot of probably similar topics.
Yeah, and this month has been nuts, and it's the curse of volunteering for stuff. When you have real work, and all of a sudden, like all my projects just came to a front. I mean, I'm gonna be up till midnight tonight working on stuff.
Oh, shoot. Well, yeah, I don't know that there was anything super pressing time-wise, but I do know that they're kind of going down this potential like some rezonings and all of that. So we spent a little bit of time going over that. So but yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot
Okay,
super
well,
pressing. But
since Joey's just driving, well, let me just start rolling through. And Lexi, we can just
yeah,
start with your stuff if you got some things to present, and then I'll just try to check off whatever we can. And basically, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to amend this agenda because Melissa is not going to be here, and we're going to have to put that on next month's. And I can give you an update on some stuff. And I wish Jamie would be able to attend, and maybe I'll do this for next month for the block captain thing because I'll definitely have some stuff for there as well. So.
okay.
Um, well, approve the tentative agenda. I guess we can just move on. And if it's just you two, I'm pretty sure there's no public comment unless Joey or did you have any other topics, Lexi?
No, no.
Okay, cool. Well, let's go in and I'm just going to put you first, Lexi, and then you can give us your report or update of what you got.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think it's really just kind of I think a lot of it honestly overlaps with some of the stuff that you have listed below, like we did talk about the federal BRT a little bit. We talked about 38th Avenue. We talked a lot about the sorry, Libby was on, so she went through Libby Glick, we came through and she talked about, so I don't know that I didn't check on this, but the city is going through and taking all or trying to take all former zoning, like the PUDs, all the historic PUDs. And there are a handful left in Highland. I did not check what we have here, but they should be letting us know if they are gonna rezone any of those. I know that one behind Wolf's Taylor, like that, was it a keg warehouse? I can't remember what that property. I remember there was some back and forth on that PUD. I don't know, did it get rezoned?
So is this PUDs or is this old like
The chapter
section
59,
50,
yeah,
chapter
yeah.
59 stuff? They're
Yes,
trying
but
to
that
they're
I think
trying to finally get rid of those last few parcels in the city that are
yes,
still under 59.
correct. But I think tied to that, we were focused on the PUDs the planned unit developments that were created under the prior zoning.
And they're trying to
So
get them classified underneath, even though they'll still be grandfathered in as a planned unit development. They're trying to get them.
no, no, we like there were a handful that they were like, we proposed this zoning. And it was kind of like, well, this PUD was literally customized for this property
Yeah,
and this
yeah, that's what
use.
PUDs are for.
Yeah, but they like, so that was like honestly where we ended up because I don't know if the lumber baron was something that's just that
So are
B
they
and B that
so are they trying to take the PUD, like the language in the PUD, and then find the closest zoning designation that, like, the closest hole that PUD could fit in?
yeah, yeah, and so it didn't go well.
Yeah, good luck with,
It didn't go
because
well. Yeah.
I have in my mind's eye here, Brian Sicante and his wife did one on the lot to the north of us on the north side of 43rd between Clay and Decatur.
Okay.
And that was two big, large parcels. They were 50-foot wide each. They've got alley on both sides, and they're like 187 foot deep. And he did a PUD there, and he's got 5 units on there, like
Yeah.
2 down the side and 1 in the back, and that doesn't fit into anything. I mean,
No, yeah. So it was anyway, just so like I think where it ended was kind of like, well, I think this makes like to us it made more sense to essentially say, well, why don't you just put it into a new like, because there under the current code, there are PUD, there's a way to do a PUD, and they
Right.
are doing them. They don't like to do them. I went through that whole process with them several years ago with the new zoning, and it's quite a bit of process. But they claim that the city can't initiate that. It has to come from the property owner. And we were like, well, the property owner is not going to go through the process of redoing their PUD. So honestly, it just kind of ended with like, we'll circle back on this. So I think it's just something
Yeah.
to keep in mind on what prior PUDs exist. And maybe, you know, I can take a look, because I know I did at one point print them all out.
Well, there's
Because I
two
was,
right over here I know about, like, because there's also the ones where they did a PUD where there's those Victorian houses, between Decatur and Elliott. There's like two Victorians, and then they built like there's like a third one in the back, and that's a
okay.
PUD as well. And that PUD will not fit into any other shaped zoning. I can tell you
Yeah.
that right now.
Can I ask just a
Yeah.
clarifying question?
Yeah.
Yep.
Since it's just us and I'm still new to all of this, just a quick chapter 59 and then PUD. What do those mean?
So chapter 59. So basically Denver redid the entire zoning code in 2010. So it was a huge overlay, like overhaul of like the zoning everywhere across the city.
So Joey, when I first started working in Denver, chapter 59 was our zoning code.
Okay.
And then they've done Blueprint Denver and all of that. And they basically got rid of it, but for some reason, they didn't redo all of the properties.
Yeah.
There were select properties throughout Denver, and I'm talking
Yeah.
like
Quite a
very
few.
sporadically.
Yeah,
That
but quite a few.
yeah, but like it's over the whole city. But if you looked
Yes.
at it, you know, there's only like one or two in each neighborhood, like maybe a little more than that. But
They just
Yeah.
gave up.
they
Yeah.
just gave up, and they said, well, we'll just leave chapter 59 in place for these rando properties around the city because we don't want to deal with it. And that was what, 25 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and then
yeah.
PUD stands for Planned Unit Development,
Okay.
I
So
believe.
they're just trying to bring up to the new layout of those
Yeah. Well,
properties.
what you used to be able to do, and it sounds like Lexi says you can't, they don't want to do this anymore. They're less hesitant.
They don't
is
like to. Yeah,
if
they
you
will.
have if you had like a development idea for a project that you wanted to do, and it wouldn't quite fit into the current zoning that lot was zoned under,
Yeah.
you could come up with a PUD
Proposal.
plan and say, and then you have to go through, it's basically like you're rezoning, and that PUD is like a private zoning code for just that property.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and you write into it all of the things that you want to do in your development. So
Yeah.
like we took
I
some
have an example. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, we make some single family parcels over in Cherry Creek we did years ago that we ended up doing 5 townhomes on it. And that
Okay.
was a PUD for just those. It was like 3 city parcels that ended up with 5 townhomes on them.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and so it's all written just for that particular project. So if those ever get tore down, that PD goes away. No one, you would have to reapply to do a new development on there, is from what I understand, and it would resort back to the underlying zoning code that is. So that may be one reason why they're trying to get rid of chapter 59 is that I don't believe that if you go for a new building permit, maybe you can build the same thing on there under the PUD, but from what I understand is the PUD is only good and in place as long as that development is in place. And once the development is no longer there, you either have to reapply for it and rewrite it, or it falls to the underlying zoning designation.
Yeah, it's complicated. I mean, I did one under the new zoning code, and it's actually that makes a lot more sense. The new PUD process, which again, they discourage you from doing it, but in certain circumstances it's relevant. So like I rezoned the Polidori sausage factory at 33rd and Tejon, which basically was like literally they made sausage there up until I guess not that long ago. So they were trying to save the historic Coors property that's like literally across from the old major, and I don't know what's there now, but anyway, we wanted to keep the historic building and make sure that it was a Coors family home, but it was not historically designated. And so we essentially created like a way to protect that through the zoning, but now they start with a zoning code, and then you make edits from there. So it actually makes a lot more sense. So you're saying this is the underlying, it's MX3, and then we're going to go from there to make edits to the existing. So it makes a lot more sense, their new process. So, but anyway, it's a it's more just a heads up that that's what they're trying to do. I know they're working on it.
Well, I know they've been trying that for years and no one could figure out. It sounds like they just kind of gave up again.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, so Libby said she was only talking about the ones relevant to Honey at that time. But I guess Andrew Webb is the person in charge of this citywide situation. So that's just something to keep in mind out there. Then we talked about the follow-up from the implementation, the Near Northwest plan implementation meeting that we went to. Was that back in June, where all the neighborhoods from Chaffee, Sunnyside, Highland, and Jefferson Park, that whole process. So we went there and we had that meeting down on Platte.
Yep.
So really for us, I think the main stuff that we had in Highlands was related to adding the DO8 overlay. And then we went back and forth on a lot of those properties. So that, I don't know, I feel like you had maybe the initial presentation when you were asking us if it was working. I saw something that said Near Northwest implementation. So I don't know if she sent some information specific to that.
Let me see. Yeah, you mean the PowerPoint?
Yeah. Yes,
Yep.
this. So this is what we had for Highland. So we walked through, Libby came on and walked through all of the things. So is she making it or not?
It doesn't, she has not logged on. I sent her an email just now.
Okay.
And she has not responded.
Yeah, it might make sense to try to I missed the first minute or two. I assume Troopty's not coming on.
Yeah, because she's not going to be on. And just let me
I wonder if it makes sense to have now they're trying to figure out when we can get Libby on, because it is super, I mean, it is pretty relevant. We had a lot of back and forth about that stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out here. I did send it. Yeah, so and I've never spoken to Libby, so
okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any deadlines related to it, so it might make sense to push this topic to next month and try to make sure we're all, or at least Troopty and maybe Amanda or Melissa could be present for that, and Libby if she is around, because it was kind of more of a presentation on what they were hoping to do, because they are working on that, but I don't think there were any deadlines as far as I'm aware.
Okay. And I'll go through this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this into the folder. So anybody could go look at this.
And then tied to that, yes, I just saw, it just reminded me that one of the slides, they are having a meeting on the 12th, September 12th at North. I don't know what exact time.
Yeah, sorry, I was scrolling through this thing pretty fast.
5:30.
Yeah, there we go. This is the next steps. Okay, so yeah, so this is a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's at 5:30 at North High. And yeah, it's basically for it's basically a public forum for what we met about back in June, Rod. So just kind of talking about the initiatives that the councilwoman is attempting to do to kind of start to implement some of these rezonings related to the goals that we had determined for our Near Northwest neighborhood plan. So I guess that timing isn't great for obviously our next meeting.
No, but I'll make announcements, and I'm gonna, obviously this will be posted so that you announced it here. People can watch this video, and also I'm taking notes as we go, because they don't even list where it is here. They just say it's a town hall. So
yeah, I got a postcard. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys probably did. I don't know where I put it. But yeah, there's a postcard that went out. Maybe it's in here.
Yeah, well, there's this Denver.
I don't have it.
this
Yeah.
Denver
Page.
link here. Let me go to that and see if that actually takes me somewhere. Because you didn't make it an active link in there, but let's see if it works. There
Yeah.
should be a,
There it is. Community open house.
yep, there we go. Right here. All right, so I'm gonna save this link as well. And
Oh, wait, click on get full meeting details and then maybe just use that link.
yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah. All right, I'll leave this up. Thanks for taking over the meeting, Libby, because I mean Lexi, because I'm fried. I am absolutely
Oh,
fried.
all good. No, I get it. It's
I've been going since 5 a.m. this morning and I haven't even left this seat.
Oh gosh.
Except to get more cups of coffee.
And go to the bathroom.
Yeah, well, and go to the bathroom and grab. I switched about 4 o'clock this afternoon to tea because I was starting to get jittery.
Oh no. Well,
so-
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything, honestly. I don't know. I mean, I don't get all the sunny stuff, but as far as our meeting, there wasn't anything super urgent.
Yeah, there's a few rezoning things that came in. I can go through a few of them, but there's nothing. The BRT stakeholders meeting, I haven't gone through the agenda for that with the Federal Boulevard stakeholder. Basically, there's
Yes.
the next stakeholder committee meeting is going to be on the 19th at 2 p.m. So
Oh, interesting. Okay, because there is also an open house for the BRT project.
let's see. Yeah, and they sent me a link to it, so I just haven't even clicked on that link yet. I did not see the one for the open house.
That's in October. It's just yeah, I just have federal BRT project, but and that's bus rapid transit. So
Yep.
For context, I didn't know
And
that acronym.
we went over
Yeah.
that a little bit in the last month's meeting because
Yeah.
we did have Melissa on there and
Mhm.
you know, there is, you know, that's basically, I don't know, Joey, if you've been following along with that, but really for Sunnyside, it's not going to affect us very much. We're not going to see very much change because along this stretch of the corridor, they can't widen it at all. So like,
Yeah.
it's not going to have like even really a bus mass transit route. You'll just be noticing that the buses are kind of moving slightly differently. But
Yeah.
as far as infrastructure goes, there's not going to be a lot that they're going to be able to put in here because they just don't have the width.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you know, we'll follow along and see, but so there was that. Let me see if there was any others that popped up. I've kind of
Oh yeah. So I got back to Troopty on this one because we don't really like all of Highland, or sorry, all of Highland was pretty much already zoned ADU, so we didn't.
yep.
There weren't any complaints, and I don't know if we've received any, but I think at this point, I mean, I'm guessing they're mostly coming from the east side of town where people are worried about their privacy and density and all of that stuff a little
Yeah.
bit more. We're already pretty dense in Northwest Denver in general, so.
Well, and the only areas I don't think are north of 44th.
But those already got rezoned.
Yeah. So, well, I think there was some.
Amanda did a separate one, so she basically finished up all of Northwest Denver
Yeah, I
essentially.
think all
So
of it. I don't think this really affects any of us
No.
because I think all of Sunnyside already had the rights.
it was a little bit left, and then she did add
Well,
that into a rezoning.
let me clarify. It's just the SU and TU lots that the single family and the 2-unit zoning designation. It didn't blanket every single thing.
Sure. Okay, that
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
But I think that's the same thing as the citywide
Yeah.
ADUs. It's just focusing on those two SU and TU zoning designations. Okay, so then we did the BRT thing. I haven't seen anything on the 38th Avenue update, and you know that's because mainly I've been so busy. Has anybody heard anything?
Oh yeah, maybe Joey has. I don't know. Joey, have you? Because I have an update if you don't.
There
I
was
do
the
not.
walk along, and I just couldn't do it. I just didn't, but I don't know if anybody else went. Because it turned out it wasn't through the city with those officials. So, Joey, did you hear anything else?
No, I haven't heard anything else from it, but I've also been out busy too this month.
Okay, because it sounded like it really wasn't all the powers that be, like all of the different people that were doing, part of that
Yeah,
thing that were hosting that walk along. It was some other
that's what I
entity.
heard, and they said that they were doing it just to like keep the community complacent or like to check a box that they had community involvement. But I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, well, that's kind of where when Troopy called me and I was in the middle of something and I was like, well, I don't have to go over there, then I'm not gonna go.
Yeah,
So I just got tired, it's been one of those things. But I will try to follow up and see if I don't think there's been any more movement on it
There
necessarily.
is a
Yeah, what do you
there's
have?
a survey um that so there was a quarter study meeting on July 23rd. And let me see, I can forward this to you, Rod. So one of the members on Honey is on this committee,
Yeah.
I guess. So I'll just send this over to you. It really, I think right now, there are some presentation slides in there, and then a survey, and the survey is available until August 30th. So, I mean, there are definitely some interesting proposals. And I think they're still working through it, but I mean, there are you can see in the presentation slides, like, essentially some of their suggestions for, yeah, here you go. Wait, no, I opened that. I'm not in there. Wait, sorry, I lost you on
I
Zoom.
got it.
Okay, yeah. If you click the presentation slides, you can see, but I don't know. I think really right now was kind of a call to action for anybody in the neighborhood, surrounding neighborhoods, to fill out that survey before August 30th.
Okay. Thank you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reply to you, Lexi, on this. And I'm going to change.
The title that says Honey.
Well, I'm giving you my new email because I now get
Oh,
assigned a new sunnysidedenver.org email by Troopy, and that was part of the issue with tonight.
oh, do you want me to send it to you
No, no, no.
the
I
new?
got it already in my
Oh,
yardstick studio, and from you, like what I'm trying to do
sure.
though is organize
That
my
makes
life
sense.
a little better.
Yeah,
And so
fair.
99% of the time, Lexi, just send it to my old email. That's
Sure,
fine.
sure.
But if you've got
I'll save
stuff,
it. Yeah,
you could that you're like, hey, this is land use committee stuff. I'm
of
trying
course.
to,
That makes sense. I
yeah.
think that is very smart. Yeah, so really there's a survey link if we want to include that in the agenda. I think that might be
Yep.
helpful, but otherwise there really wasn't a whole lot.
All right, I'll go through and review that tonight right after the meeting and make sure I put all this stuff into the agenda.
Well, you can do it now. I mean, really, it's just I would maybe link to the survey. So,
Yeah, let's see here.
and I guess you can link to the presentation slides too. You don't even have to just in the email. There's just the presentation slides and then the survey.
Oh, shoot. I'm gonna have to create a link.
Insert link above.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. And
And
then
then meeting slide. Yeah.
presentation slides. Oh, you know what I can do? Let's see. I don't know if this will work. There we go.
Oh,
Yep.
perfect.
Let me see if that, yep. Yep, that does it.
Awesome. And then, yeah, those are basically the main things. So, do you want to go ahead and add the near Northwest implementation plan open house in there?
Yeah, we probably do on Yeah, I'll just create a new. And then. Copy,
Plan open house, September 12th. Yeah, I guess you don't need to put the information. They can click it if they want.
yeah, and this is the thing jumping back and forth from Word to Google. It's like,
I know, it's the pain.
yeah, all right, and I'll clean all this up, like get the formatting right and everything, so it'll be in there
I get-
archived, and
I wouldn't worry too much about.
yeah, I don't know how many people go back and do this and look at it.
I'm guessing not that many, so don't spend too much time on it. You have enough
Yeah,
going on.
did you have any anything else that you wanted to? I appreciate
No,
it.
sorry. I just was trying to help as far as kind of
No,
drive
this
what
is perfect because my
just
brain's
since
fried,
Melissa,
and
yeah.
I'm taking notes here too, so I'll get the rest of that stuff. I'll clean this up after you guys aren't staring at me and watching me type. I did have a block captain update. You know, there's a block captain update coming. We're getting together and doing like a flyer handout thing. And let me get the information from there. Oh, sorry. That was from my other one.
It's next Monday. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
just trying
next
to pull
Monday
up the
for the
email.
board meeting.
Where, yeah, I sent it. It was from Jamie Chester. I need 3 screens is what I really need here because you guys are in my way.
Close it
That's
out.
fair.
Yeah. No, I mean like the picture and here we go. Okay, so yeah, so it's Monday, next Monday at 4 p.m. is the block captain event down there and down at Birch Road over there on Lipan. And I'll post that in there. I actually got another Tim, one of my neighbors up here at you know Tim Englert, I think is his last name, but I call him Farmer Tim. He's offered to be a block captain there for the block between 42nd and 43rd on Decatur. So that'll fill in that gap. And so that'll be good to do. And I'll see how many other block captains Jamie's rounded up for that. So and I'll put all that link in here I'll copy and paste this stuff into there as well underneath here.
Cool.
Yeah, let me make sure I do a thing. All right, next agenda item. Well, you guys all know we're still looking for. I've got a couple of people that said they might be interested, including Tim. He may want to be on as part of this because I think there's some there's some linkage between the block captain thing and sort of the land use committee because it would be good. You know, we're trying to build up at least 6 to 12 members on the land use committee that can be in each of those 6 kind of areas of Sunnyside that I've kind of designated. So it's basically east-west, we're divided at 44th, you know, north of 44th and south of 44th. And then it goes from Federal to Zuni, and then from Zuni to Pecos, and Pecos down to Inca. And so that, if you can picture that, it divides it into 6 areas.
44th, and then wasn't it 41st too?
No. We're going from 44th down to 38th is Sunnyside, the south side of Sunnyside. And from 44th to the interstate, I-70 would be the north side of Sunnyside. So let me,
For some reason, I thought it was like 3 by 3. So 44th to 38th.
well, no, each one has, each one will have 4 3 by 3 block sections in there. So each one's going to have like 6 blocks by 6 blocks, more or less.
Okay.
if that makes sense. And then we thought if we just had one person or two people in each of those areas, then we would sort of like drill down into that for the super block kind of idea and break that down. Each person would kind of be overseeing 4 super block areas. But
I see. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so like here, if I go to the map real quick,
Yeah, you're right. I wasn't thinking.
yep. So here's Sunnyside, and so if we go from, here I'll.
Yeah, I see.
Yep.
Mhm.
So it's
Six,
right
yeah.
here. So like a line across here at 44th, and then this would be like one super block from SUNY here, and you can see that each one has like 4 little quadrants in it.
Mhm.
And it's kind of the same thing up here, and then the same thing here. But I figured if we got 2 people from like say this area, they're going to know enough about all the things going on in those 4 sort of super block areas that would be really good to have like feet on the ground over there and start to come up with little improvement projects, and just keep tabs on it. And that's why I think that we can kind of dovetail into the block captain list a little bit would be
Mhm.
helpful, because also, how it is on every committee, the same people that seem to volunteer, the same people that seem to volunteer. So it's
Mhm.
like, they're always the same people, like circulating around the different things. And so like, it might just be good to, keep that list in, and if we see somebody that's got like an address, that we need a person for, we can grab them, and say, hey, would you be on the land use committee as well?
Mhm.
That was kind of my thinking. So anyway, and when I get some more copious free time, I'm going to put together a map about that a little bit more. And I've got a sample project that I'm going to start for my neighborhood right here.
So the one thing I was wondering that I think could possibly get people a little bit more dialed on the land use versus just the overall neighborhood um is I know that newsletter comes out,
Yeah.
and it has, the information, and you can go to the website and then you can find all of these things. But I think it might be helpful if it's like a day or two before the meeting, where it's like if there's a subsection, or I don't know I don't know that it has to go to everybody that's subscribed to the Sunny newsletter, but like there's a whole subscription that Tim Burrs manages that essentially is like just for PCD. So we get an email that's like, hey, PCD's tomorrow, here's the agenda.
Well,
And
and that's
and
the
I know
one.
that's an extra step, but I think it's like, because this email, what I don't remember when the Sunny Side email goes out, but I think
First,
people get lost.
first Sunday
Yeah.
is when it goes out, and I think Troopty only wants. They were like, she does not want a separate newsletter to go out.
No,
For
not
the
a newsletter, but literally just, hey, it's like a BCC to anybody who is interested in land use in the neighborhood. So it's not just for the
so
people.
a separate mailer list though, but just an
It's
email.
literally just an email it's one email, and it just says, honey,
Here's the
PCD
agenda.
this date, and it says reminder, here's I can forward you an example.
We've
Um,
talked about like a mini, I didn't mean to interrupt, I apologize, but like a mini land use type email that goes
Yeah,
out through the second half of the month, because the way that it's timing is that we don't usually catch up on it for the newsletter.
right.
And then we're always kind of like 3 weeks or 4 weeks out, depending on when it gets out. And so like I would be fine bringing that to the board if you guys wanted to send that to the Sunnyside, the members. Because I think having the same 2 people on here isn't going to be doing a whole lot of good for the neighborhood.
No,
well,
exactly.
yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not gonna lie. Like, who's gonna watch this video?
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know.
Like, I'm just like, I think it's kind of, I mean, and obviously I think the thing that's juicier in Highlands, or at least it's not as frequent anymore, but there'd be a lot of, rezoning. So people, or like zoning exceptions, or things where, we're voting on if we agree or not. So then you've got a lot of people, like the neighbors are like, hey, I want to be part of this conversation. So then you have, like, we often have like, okay, the person who the homeowner comes on, they they're there with their architect, and then they present their drawings for their exception. And it's different because we also have a historic landmark area. So there's a lot of landmark stuff that, people are very
Right.
sensitive to. But, if
Mhm.
there's any other rezonings or any other zoning code exceptions that we are like the neighborhood is going to opine on, or the PCD committee is going to opine on and vote for. So then they come in and say, hey, as a neighbor, like, I don't agree, or I'm here to support. And obviously I think that like we also had in-person meetings forever, and it's gone to Zoom, and there've been, people are doing fewer projects just given the state of the economy. So it's been a little bit less like that. And, we've skipped meetings here and there, but I just sent you the example. So I think it's more just like a, hey, reminder, these are the
Yep.
things that are going on. And, maybe that gets people who are maybe a neighbor or like, oh yeah, I did want to know about that rezoning. But if there isn't anything juicy, I mean, I don't, unfortunately, I don't know that a lot of people really,
Well,
you
we
know,
haven't had anything really juicy. I mean, there's some zoning change things,
the
but
zoning update, the text amendment bundle
well, I get these emails and because because I'm on the like the
notification.
the communication thing for the neighborhood organization. And it's little things like so and so applying for, and we did announce those. There's a couple this month that I've gotten. And I usually put those in here into the agenda, but like I said, I didn't have time to even really go through some of this stuff. But
Mhm.
uh so I just got to get back in there and figure out which ones are relevant and that sort of thing. But most of the time we don't get any comments back, when there's only two of us on there.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the way it worked out before is that because the city council meeting happened, the way the timing worked,
Oh, yeah.
the council meeting had already happened. And so it was like, oh, by the way, the city council voted at this last week. And because we got the announcement like before, but it never worked out in timing, and it seemed like nobody was really interested because the timing didn't like by the time
Yeah.
we got the thing, it was too late to post in the agenda or for the newsletter, that kind of thing. So anyway, all right, well, I like that idea of sending something out if it's simple and easy, and it's just sort of like a quick email and not
It's
like a
literally just, it would be like sending out the agenda that's already linked that, it's like just that. I mean, it's literally just what's going to be on the topic. But I mean, I know that it's, it's definitely like, I think, I think it's just sharing as an example, because I think honestly, as Honey PCD with Timbers running it for the last, 20, 30 years. I mean, like that is the neighborhood example for all of
yeah,
Denver,
you're
right? Like,
absolutely right.
like city councilwoman, like she talks about it, like people look to Honey for guidance because it's like Timbers dedicates so much of his life to this. And I mean, quite frankly, I don't know that anybody has time. I mean, Amanda mentioned on the last call that Jefferson Park just gave up. They don't even have anybody running anything because nobody cares. So like they don't even have like,
Right.
so it
Well,
just, I mean,
that's
it
what I'm
is what it
finding
is.
out, because now, because Troopty's got me this like sunnyside.org email. There's like meetings about something like every single day, it
Oh,
seems
you
like.
can't do, yeah, you
Yeah.
can't do it. I mean,
And
you
it,
just
and,
can't.
and it was just like, good Lord, I can't make it to all this. I mean, there's literally like 3 in here, some of it's about this stuff we talked about. It's like, I don't know if I can make it to that, like at North High
Yeah.
School, so.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think a lot of it we try, there's also, I think we have 7 committee members, and so like people will be like, all right, I'll try to volunteer for this, or like try to volunteer for that. It's just it's a lot of work. And I think I think ideally finding somebody who might be, like Tim is not retired. He's just dedicated so much time to this. But if there was somebody who did have more time, or I think it's just
Yeah.
hard, right? Like obviously we're trying, and I think we can keep
Well,
trying, and maybe
and
we'll
maybe
get
there's a way
there.
we can automate it and make it simple. I mean, like basically what you just sent me looks like our agenda. So if
Yeah.
it could just basically be a link, and then maybe
Yep.
some color pictures or something. Um,
Flashing lights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just to
Get
get
people's
people's interest.
attention.
I like that
Yeah.
idea though, sending it out like so because people aren't going to remember from the first Sunday of the month to the third Wednesday of the month, even that we're doing this. You
Yeah.
know, even if they read
Well,
that, that's just too long. It's almost, you know, it's 2.5 weeks. Yeah.
Rod, can you forward that to me just so I know what it looks like? We have our board meeting on Monday after the pamphlet drop. And so, like I said, we're going back and forth on these like mid-month, like, oops, something new got added or something was forgotten or whatever. And maybe we could start to make the land use like the priority and then just anything else that, we need to add on. I don't want to overwhelm people with just emails after emails, but just so I
Yeah.
can show the board to see if they'd be interested because then we just need somebody to make it and send it out.
I really just, I think it's, there's just been so many more. I think it's just, uh, there's so many zoning codes in the Highlands, and there's just so many that having the landmark district is huge. I mean, that's where a lot of this comes from. People get really upset about that, and it's very contentious. And so it's just a different animal, I think, obviously, but people don't care until it's happening next door, right? They don't care, about a rezoning. They don't care about the flyers, and they don't care unless there's a giant sign in their neighbor's yard where they want to build something that's going to piss them off. So I think it's unfortunately that's just kind of how it is with anything. And I think, but I think a little bit more like awareness. Like obviously, this is now a recurring calendar on my own calendar, and I remembered, and I was like, oh, I have to go back to that email that I flagged, and then I downloaded. But I think having a little bit more like, hey, if you're interested, but again, you don't want to spam it to everybody.
Right.
So I don't know what that looks like. I think obviously over the years, Tim has built up a separate list. He doesn't send it to everybody in Honey. It's just anybody who is specifically wants to be involved and notified of planning related
Right.
items.
We're gonna start making our resident members fill out profiles. Because with Toolkit, we'll be able to add on. So maybe what we can start to do is as we're building that up,
Are you
is we can
interested
have a
in?
little checkbox of like land use or something like that. So let me see, because I am not the tech person, but let me talk to everybody about it this week or
Mhm.
next week and just see if we can start to move those profiles and just get something to help designate a land use. And then we'll get that separate email and then we can email them separately.
All right. It's coming, I swear, Joey. I did not have your email in.
Oh, you're good. It's just joey.shear@sunnysidedenver.org.
Yeah, I didn't have your email in your contact thing, so the autofill wasn't working.
Oh, okay.
But I've got you updated now, so there you go.
All right. So let me look at this with it, just if we can get like a simplified, unified land use with the Sunnyside as people sign up as a member.
Yeah.
Then we can have that email list, and then if there's different email lists that you guys acquire, that land use acquires, we can just combine them.
Perfect.
Yeah, so for like this example, he sent it out on August 9th and the meeting is August 13th. But honestly, a lot of the times it'll come out the day before. Or if he sends a message that says, hey, there's not much to review, or we've had, just closed meetings where it's just people on the committee that are talking about some, certain things that are, just whatever. So it's obviously, and I've been on this for years and years, and it's changed quite a bit since I've been on it. But I think, you need to have people that are really, really interested and really, really passionate. And I think fortunately in Highlands, there are there are quite a few people that, either we have somebody, Steve Nally, he was involved in like the rezoning code. He's been involved in so many things. He used to work for the city and now he has a different job, but he has so much insight. And so there's several people are architects, and somebody else is super passionate about, biking and bike lanes, and just so there's a lot of information that comes into it. And but the other thing too is I think having a little bit of connection, because like, for example, somebody on our Honey committee is on the 38th committee, so he attends all the 38th meetings. So like honestly the timing kind of works where like maybe that meeting always happens the week before this meeting, so like I can always provide any insight that is given from that for anybody that's on something that's relevant, like a 38th corridor or a federal, where we're Highland and Sunnyside are kind of related. Because I know, I mean, it takes a lot of time to go to all of these meetings. I don't know how,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. Amanda must have a meeting every single night. I don't know how she does it, but
Yeah. Well, she gets paid for it too, though. So
true. Yeah. But still, it's a lot. I mean, yeah.
I
But
don't
yeah,
know.
I agree. And as volunteers, it's very difficult to have the time. So I think certainly happy to provide any overlap there. I don't think there's any concern about just sharing information.
Yeah, no, this is great. Thanks, Lexi. I appreciate it. It's but that's basic. Yeah, I agree. I think that would be very helpful, especially if we do get like 2 or 3 more people. Oh, and there's
So
Libby.
like, oh,
Hi,
I'm
Libby.
here. Sorry.
No worries. We've had all sorts of, well, there was technical stuff and me being a slowpoke and just disconnected the last week. So a lot going on. But we kind of Lexi's already seen your
yeah.
Mhm.
So hi, Livy. I'm on both,
presentation.
or I'm trying
So
to be involved in both.
she filled in your proxy and in your stead
Perfect.
and kind of went through because I had your slideshow queued up here.
Oh yeah.
And so basically, like, I mean, we went through the whole thing and she kind of gave us the overview, but the biggest thing for the rest of us was that meeting for those that are impacted. And we posted we're gonna put that in our agenda for tonight,
Okay.
The open house on the 12th.
for the
Yeah.
open
Great.
house there. Yeah, the open house at North there.
Mhm.
So I've got the link in there. I'm gonna put some descriptions, but I just figured I wouldn't make people like chit chat and talk and watch me type at the same time. So I mean, I'd be happy to, like, if you want to do your abbreviated version.
Yeah, it wasn't much. It was mostly just letting you all know like where the proposal is as of right now, like for Sunnyside specifically. So you can see all the outlined parcels, which is kind of hard to tell, but the all in green, blue, and purple would all be going to have the DO8 included.
Yeah.
And then I kind of highlighted the purple areas, which is where we're proposing to also go from 2 to 3 stories, just so you all are aware of that.
Right. Because this is sort of the thing we talked about in the meeting, but this is a little bit more finalized than it was back
Yeah, I'd say we're one step closer
one step closer.
to having it be finalized. You know, this was the September 12th meeting is really the first time we've actually reached out to these property owners of the like commercial properties.
Yeah.
So we'll see how many attend. But yeah, this will be the first time that they're really made aware of it.
Okay. Here, I'll just keep going through the slides if you want.
Yeah. So, and then the other ones, so these are all the former Chapter 59 properties. So we're also proposing to rezone these as well. And so I listed them out there just so you all can see and kind of like what it is. But these would all be going to likely different zone districts, kind of based on what the current entitlement is, but also what plan guidance is. But again, it's just kind of more awareness of like, these are all the former Chapter 59 properties in Sunnyside that we're looking at to also include in this larger rezoning.
So, and we had a discussion about that. Lexi was talking that not really anything was resolved in terms of like finalizing some of these parcels yet, because there's a lot of different ideas and it's complicated because there's not like a hole that some of these PUDs fit into or some of the old Chapter 59s exactly. And so what is your process? How is the process? What are you guys talking about? Like how that'll be rectified, or is there even ideas about that yet?
Yeah, so we have language in our code about a lot of these would become compliant, which basically means that maybe the use is allowed most likely in the in the standard Denver zoning code zone district, but there might be just something that like it doesn't meet a use limitation, for example, Or if it's like a building that's compliant, it might not meet the setbacks, or the height might be greater than what the zone district allows. So with that compliant status, it basically allows for, if there's, I think it calls like an involuntary act that like destroys it. So a fire, an act of God, it can be rebuilt as it exists today. And it lets you continue the use. You can make modifications as long as you're not making the compliant piece worse. So that's most likely.
So like basically, like let's say, so what you're gonna try to do is as you kind of like phase out any of the 59 and kind of the PUD stuff, the basic parcel will be kind of zoned whichever the guidance suggests, or whatever is the surrounding underlying zoning kind of is in the area, with the like some amendments to it that sort of make the current use fit. And then that use, as long as it's like you said, an act of God or something like that, that'll still be grandfathered in perpetuity. And then I was wondering, if somebody went and tore that down, would that negate any of the sort of like entitlements of the PUD? And so that they would have to go back, they couldn't just build a new one underneath that. Is that correct? Or
yes. So
okay.
So I will say we're not really doing any amendments because this will be the city rezoning. We can't do any kind of like waivers or anything specific. So it would just go into a standard zone district, but
Right.
it would likely come in as being compliant, like just like you said. But yes, if it's voluntarily torn down, so say a developer comes, buys one of these properties, tears whatever's down on it, they would then have to comply with the new zoning. So they
Right.
couldn't just rebuild what was there.
Right. Okay. Okay.
What about the use? If there was like a use permit or something existing and it gets rezoned from PUD to whatever is determined to be relevant, do they have to reapply for some sort of use permit, or is that just stay as is?
So they'll be allowed to continue the use. The use one's a bit trickier in that if the building that the compliant use is in were to be, whether it's torn down or like have
Yeah.
a fire, they could rebuild the building as it is, but they couldn't then reestablish the use.
If it's not under the existing, yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
But most of the time uses, like a lot of the uses in a lot of these old code properties are either like, let me see, like one of them, I feel like a lot, well,
like this one's like this is that multi-story,
Yeah.
like what is that, like 3 or 5
Senior-
5 stories or whatever?
okay.
Yeah.
That's that big, apartment complex over there. And it's obviously going to be grandfathered in, but there's nothing else along 38th currently that would even suggest that size of a building go up there. And so if that got torn down, like they would resort to what I'm assuming is kind of the underlying like direction for the rest of 38th corridor there.
Yep.
And that would all go away. Okay.
Yeah.
That's DHA. Yeah.
Oh, that one
Yeah,
is.
the human
Yeah,
services.
but
Yeah,
then
I mean,
then-
it's an anomaly. I was just saying, using that as an example of
Yes.
one that's just a complete outlier.
Yeah, but I,
And I don't know how that was. That was PUD, I'm guessing, or was it allowed underneath 59?
so both, I mean, all of these are either, an old code PUD or have like waivers or a PBG. So yeah, they were all
when it
allowed.
was something
Yep.
that it was chapter 59. Okay.
Yeah. So they were all built in conformance with the zoning that exists today. I will say in this part of town, like, I mean, all of near Northwest area have kind of, a lot of these old code properties have greater entitlement or greater height in particular than what the plan guidance is calling for.
Right.
So we do have several, like in Jefferson Park, there's a lot of condos that are like 75 feet tall, but the height guidance is 3 feet.
Right.
Sorry, not 3 feet, it's 3 stories. So
3
like
story.
40,
Right.
45, 40 feet.
But not 75.
But not 75. And
No.
so those are going to be compliant where, again, if there's a fire, they can rebuild to 75 feet, but they can't come and tear it down and go to 75. They
Right.
can then just go to 40.
Okay.
But yeah, just this DHA one, I just pulled it up on the map. It's a BA1 waivers with waivers. So it is a full just chapter 59. So it's not a PUD,
Okay.
but I think that makes sense. And then basically surrounding that entire property is single unit zoning.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
like
Like
I think
currently, I mean, like obviously we've had the discussions that we would like to see 38th get upzoned.
Mm.
yeah.
You know, and I think that's sort of in like what Amanda has alluded to in the guidance will
Mhm.
eventually go that direction. But you know, the way when they kind of adopted like Blueprint Denver and they kind of did that, they just sort of took what was there and made that the zoning
Yeah.
code, and that's why it's so splotchy along there.
Yeah.
But that 5-story one's definitely the outlier on that street.
Okay. And I will say, even if they were to go to 3, because it's DHA, they would probably meet the affordable housing and like height incentive,
Right.
which would
go in
allow
there,
them to
yeah.
at least go to 4.
Right.
So that could give them more just automatically because they do
But-
have.
But the
affordable.
idea of this is that we don't have any of these outliers, and at least there's better guidance when these properties do come up for
Exactly.
redevelopment.
Yeah, yes. And I think we like to think that going to the new code, provides more flexibility. It doesn't have this like really restrictive FAR with like really generous parking requirements
Right.
that the old code has. So like hopefully getting rid of some of those will kind of provide, like if you look at the FARs, a lot of them are like, almost 1-to-1, which is not a lot of buildable area compared to even just our MX 3-story district, which gives you a lot more that you could potentially build, but
Right.
still it's more predictable in that it's only 3 stories compared to FAR. You can have only take up a really tiny portion of the
Right.
site, but be really tall.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Perfect. Well, and then the last thing, and like I said, we're going to take this and we've posted it up there on the thing. And so we'll get anybody that's interested over at North and make sure we
Yeah.
put it out
Perfect.
there.
And if you know of anyone, I mean, hopefully people received the postcards by now, but even if you know any people who happen to live in any of these old code properties or own any of the commercial properties that for whatever reason, maybe sometimes, especially the commercial properties, I feel like,
Yep.
goes to some LLC that's somewhere else, or if it's a business owner, we didn't actually mail them to tenants. We just did the property owner. So I know those can be different.
Right. And they can be out of state, and
Yes,
especially when they're those
exactly.
LLCs.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can usually tell when you look it up and it's like the actual address LLC, and it's what they use the address as the company name.
Yes. Yeah.
So, okay. Well, thank you for the update. I appreciate that. That clarified, because we did have that discussion earlier about like what happens when, the property's torn down. So,
Yes. Yeah.
um,
Hopefully it's, and I always give the example, like my house is compliant, for example, like it was built in 1924. We're 3 feet from the property line where 5 is required. So
yeah,
most of the homes in Denver do have that compliant status because they're
Yep.
just older. And so hopefully that kind of alleviates, like people can still sell them. They can get mortgages for, it doesn't,
Yeah.
hopefully they won't even notice the change. They'll just see it on like their assessor's record that the letters are different.
right. Well, and they won't notice it until, well, and it wouldn't be that way. It's still that way. Like if they tore it down, like that's when they would notice it. If they voluntarily tore it down and then they're like, what do you mean I can't build that same footprint? But hopefully they do that research before they tear it down and figure out.
And we really are trying to get in touch with a lot of the property owners in the old code. So I've talked to I'm trying to think, like maybe about half of them or so, maybe a little under half, but I have spoken individually. So we're trying to make people aware of like what this means. I know that the guy that owns 1930 West 41st, that like industrial building.
That's been an interesting one, yeah.
Yes, that has like a super specific like
Weird
packaging, I think use an office. Like it's super limited. And he's like, I would like to do like just have like a dentist office or like they wanted to do like a pottery kind of studio and they couldn't do it. So he's like very enthusiastic about this rezoning to, I think we're looking at like a mixed use 2-story district.
Right.
For him that has like the X after it. So it'll kind of limit those, like it won't allow the like bad auto uses. And I think he's very excited because he's just been so restricted. He can't do like hardly anything on that property.
Right.
So, but when you determine, like, just kind of like you had a couple examples that you brought to Honey, will we be like versus just the list? Will we know like this is what we're proposing, or is that just like what is, I can't remember what the timeline is. Like I assume obviously there'll be like a determination of like this is where we end up on the zoning.
Yes. Yep. So I guess I don't know if I'll come back to like the general, it'll be like online eventually.
Sure,
It'll probably
sure.
have, but my plan is to go back to the property owners that I've spoken to say like, this is what we're proposing for this site. Just so they know going into it.
Sure.
And then it'll be in the formal application. There will probably be a spreadsheet, or we'll try to find a way to make it clear. And maybe there'll be a map too that'll show like what every property is going to, so then you all can see.
And you're in charge of just Northwest Denver or Council District 1 or a big, I know you said that like somebody like Andrew Webb, I think is what I wrote down. He's in charge of like the citywide.
Yeah, so he is leading the project that will eventually be the citywide rezoning to essentially get rid of the old code, get rid of former chapter 59 and
Okay.
rezone everything. That we don't really have a timeline for that project.
Sure.
It's not like we haven't done like a public announcement. It's public in as far as it's been recorded at city council meetings to let them know like we want to do this. So like you could go look up and see kind of the proposals for that. But yeah, we don't really have a timeline for it, but he's leading that project. I'm doing the near northwest area implementation. So my role at the city is to rezone once we have like a neighborhood plan. We're trying to be better about, we're trying to be more proactive about implementing our plans, especially through rezoning. So that's my main role. So I did west, that was just adopted in July.
Okay.
Now we're on near northwest, and then we're also trying to do it more concurrently. So we have far southwest and southwest are going through the process right now. It's like they're just about to kick off their planning process for the area plan. So I'm on that team as well to kind of help. So that'll go closer with the plan once the plan's adopted. And then a colleague of mine, Fran, is doing the near southeast area. And that has a lot of former chapter 59. So she's rezoning a good chunk of that area from the old code into the Denver zoning code. So those are kind of the areas that we're focusing on right now. And we're trying to be more concurrent with plans in the future. Right now, we've had to kind of after the fact just because of capacity, but in the future, we'll go more with the plan, and the rezoning will come probably shortly after a plan's adopted.
Okay, so so these ones we're talking about will also be part of this in addition to the DO8 and the other. So it'll be kind of one big rezoning for these 4 neighborhoods.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, it'll be one large package that Council President Sandoval will sponsor. And yeah, it'll kind of the whole thing. It'll be the near northwest area, like plan implementation or rezoning implementation package. So it'll all go together to planning board and city council.
Okay, cool. That's really helpful. Thanks.
Well, thank you.
Yes. Again, sorry I was so late.
No. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Because we had some technical issues at the beginning, and like I said, I was like way behind the curve setting this meeting up tonight and getting on checks. So it worked out well. So, and I appreciate you could have joined us. And this is our first one. Just so you know, like we switched from second Thursday to third Wednesday.
Okay.
So this is the first month we've done this new day.
Okay.
So there's obviously going to be hiccups there, which is why we don't have Melissa on here from Amanda's office.
Yeah.
We actually picked this day because she said it worked for her, but for some reason this week she actually did have a conflict. So I don't know what that was about. So hopefully we can have you back as you get more updates and stuff. Yep. And yeah, we'd love to stay in touch and make sure we all follow along. So,
yeah, sounds great. Happy to come back anytime. Hope to see you all on the 12th.
You will be at the September 12th at North. All right. Well, I'll make sure I introduce myself in person and we'll see you there.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. Well, have a nice evening, Libby. Thank you.
You as well.
Thanks, Libby.
Bye.
Hey guys, I just had the last thing that was on that list. If you guys hadn't seen it already, I was going to give you an update. Maybe it's not even on here. We did our block party
Oh, yeah.
and it turned out awesome. And I sent so a couple of things. There's going to be some stuff coming out from Dottie about it, because they're going to are the website for the Denver Days is going to put some pictures of our stuff and promote that for like next summer. But then my neighbor who does this, she's the, I don't know, she owns this or whatever, the Bucket List Community Cafe.
Oh, yeah.
So she had this woman, Sadie, who interviewed me last month before the party. And then she actually came to the party and hung out most of the day. It was pretty cool. And she took a few pictures. And so she wrote up an article about it. And I haven't, I'll be honest with you, I haven't had time to read it yet, but it talks about like the different elements that we went through. And so people can pick and choose the different parts that might fit their needs. And, you know, Trupti and I had a brief discussion about this as well. Like, we really do want to encourage more of this kind of stuff in the neighborhood. And, you know, ours was like just this block here between 41st and 42nd on Decatur, but we invited basically the surrounding blocks. So we had 130 people, I think, or thereabouts show up. So it was a pretty good turnout. You can see like in the picture, I mean, we got like 8 tables and 80 chairs, and the chairs kind of got moved all over the place because people made little pods. It was kind of cool. But so what Trupti and I talked about doing was making some sort of resource maybe for the neighborhood on the like SUNY website that like helps, you know, like, hey, here's some rental companies. Cause that was the hard part for me figuring out a lot of this stuff. And we were just fortunate that we ended up qualifying for the Denver Days thing too, which that's covered the barricades that you need for street closures. But what Trupti and I talked about doing is going both directions from this. So this was sort of like, I'm kind of call this like a middle of the road, like size event. And we thought that it might be good to encourage this type of thing, but several of the people that came liked that. And we talked about maybe getting little smaller coffee get-togethers with some of that grant money, where, you know, maybe it's only 15 or 20 people that just get together on a more regular basis. And it's not so hard to organize, because this took a while to put together. And then on the other side, Trupti talked about maybe having like an entire Sunnyside block party that we put together that we maybe do in Chaffee Park.
I was gonna say, so we had, this was a long time ago, but it was called the White Tablecloth. It was the Highlands White Tablecloth dinner, and basically it was for the whole neighborhood, and it was once a year. But they picked a different block, so it was just like, it was one block. So they would oftentimes do it in Potter Highlands, where, you know, pretty historic buildings. And so we would take down the whole block, do the same thing, and have that exact, like that photo. There's like a great photo that we had from like just down the whole block with all the people sitting, and little man would bring their big blow up thing and for the kids. And we had like a mariachi. I mean, it was like a big thing. And it was, the person who ran it was just such an ordeal for her, but like, a lot of it is getting to the rental stuff and finding the right people and getting the right, you know, systems in place. But it was awesome. I mean, everybody would just bring a potluck dish. And so it was like, we didn't have all this money, so the food wasn't all there, but it was like a potluck. And then little man donated ice cream. And it was really, I went to several of them, but this is a long time ago. So, but I was like, I mean, it would be cool to do something like that. And
yeah, if we could get those people that do these around the neighborhood for their local block areas, and then, you know, I don't know, maybe it builds up through the summer and we have a big blowout at the end of the summer for all of Sunnyside or something. I mean, like, I don't know. I think it was really cool. I got like so many business cards from people that, you know, live around me I hadn't met yet. And I've already gone out and had coffee and stuff with a couple of them, you know, and it was exactly what I wanted to experience, and what I wanted to get from it was just making sure I've seen like so many people now that were at the party that I didn't know their names and I didn't know who they were. And now you know, when I'm walking the dogs, you know, and it goes back to, you know, one of the criteria was like neighborhood safety and you know, like already, you know, it's like, we now identify one another more and we're just more connected. So we also have all of that contact list now which one of the people that helped organize, we've got our phone numbers and emails. And so that's also a resource, at least for our little thing. So I'm going to send out like the block captain stuff to that whole group, just because they're, as part of like the thank you email for everybody for coming, that type of thing. And who knows, maybe we'll get more involvement with the land use committee or with the neighborhood, the block captain program, so it all ties together. And like my idea is maybe we can sort of use some of this, like if next year, I think the grant money's out for this year, or they're close to being done. But if we do get this block captain thing up, like make sure that they all have access to some of these micro grants, and we can have them apply, and they can be the ones for their block, throw little coffee events or something, I think it was kind of cool to take advantage of resources that we have available to us. So anyway,
I would love for you to get that information, because I gave up halfway through with the Denver days and then the grant and everything else. So we just did when we didn't close down the street. But the neighbors were really excited to get to know one another, and they've lived next to people for decades that they've never even talked to. So
yeah,
huge fan. Would love to, have that kind of somewhere as an easy resource that I can piggyback for next year.
yeah, we even had I think there's a picture in here. We had a guy who brought a little mobile amp. We plugged it in, and you're technically not supposed to have music on the street. So they were actually off in the driveway there, like on the side. And, but they was just like, like just a good guy with a guitar playing, and there was a couple girls that played. It was really cool. And we even got the two officers that run the Popsicle Cruiser, Copsicle Cruiser. They couldn't bring the Copsicle Cruiser because it was already tied up with like another event that had sort of reserved it, but they made the effort and just came in their patrol car and hung out for a while, which was really cool because several of the neighbors came and talked to them about, District 1 and everything. So there was a lot of crossover and sort of tangential things that happened that I hadn't even occurred to me. So it was kind of cool. Next time we're definitely getting the Copsicle Cruiser though. So I'm going to reserve it early. So, and we're having a follow-up. What I was waiting for is we're trying to get together the four households that sort of we all work together on putting this together. We're going to have a debriefing meeting, and everybody put their information together, and we're going to kind of write this all out. And then that's, Joey, what I'll start to, maybe I'll put that up there on the Google Drive as a resource thing that we can start to develop, into something that's a usable resource for people. So yeah, it turned out well. It was fun. So, Amanda didn't show up. I was kind of bummed about that. I wanted her to come by and see it. So anyway, I think that's it because we covered, Libby. And just another announcement, if anybody does come and watch this video, we are now going to be on the third Wednesdays at 6:30 to 8. So if you're watching this video, that's when we're going to be doing the land use committees from here on out. Does anybody have anything else tonight?
Just a quick plug, if you guys can make it, Locavores Pig Roast is Saturday, and so that's a fundraiser that we're doing. That's at 2. Our pamphlet drop again for block captains will be the 26th.
Yep.
And then Rod, you were there last year, but our health and wellness is going to be on September 28th.
Yes, and that's something I haven't
1.
had a chance to map out, but I've got you covered on the size of that stuff.
I think we'll be able to fit it. Okay, yeah, if you can, I think we can fit it. But
I talked to Troopty about it, and it kind of got a little bit more. I think we need to have, like, she wanted to, but then she got busy. She wanted to, like, the three of us to get on like a meeting like this so we could talk it through about what you want before I go down a path. And
let me know. Just email me, and I'm pretty flexible. So
okay.
But we'll have that from 10 to 1 on the 28th. And then with the Music Fest, we're going to be setting up a booth on the 14th. And then last thing on their kind of land use related is they have a volunteer event at Rocky Mountain Lake Park for like a park cleanup is what it looks like. So they sent that out from 9 to 11. I'm going to try to get some people. So if you are interested or know people that want to help do that, let me know, and I'll send out some reminders.
Yeah, well, if you could forward that to me, what is
Yeah.
the exact specs? Go ahead and email that to me. And did you get that email I just sent you too, by the way?
Yes, I did. So I'll send this to you at your sunny side.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, if you send that, then I will I'll make sure I update that in here and make sure that information is easy to access on the agenda
Perfect. Yep.
for the
I'll send it to you in
announcements.
just a moment then.
Yeah, no rush. I'm gonna go grab a quick bite and then get back to cleaning this up.
All right, there you go. That's all I got.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. I mean,
Yeah,
it's still fun even though we don't have a big attendance.
it's good to see you guys. Good luck with all
Yeah.
your stuff.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
good
All
luck,
right.
Ron.
Yeah, talk to you guys
Bye.
soon.
Good night.
All right, good night.
Bye.
Bye. Stop share.